Zechariah 14:2 and the United Nations. And once you kind of realize what's going on and how this is going to play out, it becomes very easy to see the prophecy unfolding. And so let's look at this a little bit more detail. It's just one verse. It's real simple. So let's go to that. Zechariah 14:2. I will gather all the nations. I see that as United Nations coming in as they're, sending in their military to Jerusalem to fight against it. Now realize it's delineated a specific city of what they're fighting on. Okay, the city will be captured, the houses ransacked, and the women raped. Half of the city will go into exile, but the rest of the people will not be taken from the city. When you realize that the issue for the politicians and for those at the United Nations is for Israel to comply with the two-state solution, a part of Israel, part Palestine. And they look at the green line as it divides up the West Bank. It also divides up Gaza. But we're dealing here right now with the West Bank. And what is happening right now this week, Jerusalem is annexing 30% of the West Bank and basically giving the middle finger to the United Nations to say, we're making this part of Israel. There is no longer a two-state solution. Would have fun with this, okay? It put everything to a head where the United Nations would come in to say, you have to return the Golan Heights and you need to evacuate the West Bank. And they would send in military to do that. Now, when it says half of the city is to go into exile, now the word there for exile is golah, Strong's 1473, carried away or to be removed. Now, if you look at how Jerusalem was set up pre-1967, there's an East Jerusalem and there's a West Jerusalem, and they're roughly equal in size. All they're really saying here is we're going to take, for the Antichrist and the United Nations, we're coming in and we're forcing all the Jews who are in East Jerusalem out of East Jerusalem. And we're going through the West Bank. If there's a Jew in the West Bank, we'll force them out of the West Bank. If there's Jews in the Golan Heights, we'll force them out of the Golan Heights because that belongs to Syria. So what's going to happen is the United Nations is going to go in more like a peacekeeping force, and it will be realistically defined as that. But they're just trying to restore order and say this was how it was originally divided up, Israel and Palestine. Keep what the promise is, that there is an Israel and Palestine. Realize that in 1967, Israel's been claiming all of Jerusalem, but not ever have they annexed it. The annexation is coming on the West Bank on the Jordan River, what they're doing, we're 30% of that, where they're cutting off Palestine or the Palestinians from help and aid. So I see this as that checkmate event, which is forcing in the Antichrist. So we have something happening almost immediately that's going to do this. In East Jerusalem, there's about 550,000 people, about 250,000 Jewish people. About 40% of the population is Jewish, maybe a little bit more than that. I don't think it's going to be a full 50%. But the way Zechariah 14:2 is read, you could read it as half the population of Jerusalem, or you could read it as half by acreage. And what we're looking at here, and here's a map showing you this. Half by acreage. Again, East versus West Jerusalem. So, again, it becomes a very interesting issue because now things have kind of opened up so we can understand that. So when the United Nations comes in and they try to give back Syria, or the Golan Heights to Syria, they're becoming a peacekeeping force. It's not like we've always thought these people coming in and invading Jerusalem. It's not like that at all. It's completely easy. It's real simple. They're just coming in to say, return what is not yours to them. It's always been set up that it would be Palestine and Israel. Get back to what you've agreed to. That's Palestine, you're Israel. Get the Jews out of Palestine. And so all they're going to do is that nice, easy, come on out. So when they say they're ransacking the homes, of course they are. Or what we call pillaging the homes, because they're saying, that home, yeah, the Jewish person built it, but it's in the wrong area. They're not allowed to have that. Get out. Go back. You know, it says half of the city is not sent into exile. Those who are in West Jerusalem, they're left alone. It's only those in East Jerusalem. They have to leave. Their houses are plundered. They lose their houses. They have to then go back over to Israel proper. And however they can be placed in Israel proper, that's up to them. And again, all of the Jews that are in the West Bank, just get out, leave your home there, and come across. Now, because it's a United Nations force, a lot of those military people will be Muslims coming in. And it says the women are raped. It doesn't mean all the women are raped, but there's going to be some rape. That happens when you're having a situation like this. It's just what happens. Not trying to be too flippant about it. Look at the history with Vietnam, how the American soldier, did they rape Vietnamese women? And the answer is yes, they did. Were they raping them all? No, but it happened. When you start getting into Muslim soldiers who are ticked off, massively ticked off that the Jews are there, it's just one of those things going to happen. So we have the verse making total sense as long as we understand that it's the United Nations coming in. Now the other amazing thing about this, and again, we go back from the map, East Jerusalem includes the city of David, and therefore also includes the Temple Mount. And therefore, when it says stopping the morning and evening sacrifices, we have different things there. It's going to be the Antichrist that stops it, but it also has a thing there. There's some other verses with regards to soldiers. It says the soldiers would stop to say, no, this is not your land. This is not something you can be taking hold of. Get out of here. Go back to your land in West Jerusalem. That is the land for the Jews, not East Jerusalem, not the Temple Mount. So they could stop that very easy. Now again, it's an abomination. I think there's going to be some other things happening, but it's going to be a lot lighter than most people think. This is coming in with a very soft touch. It's not like the Christians have always had this idea that this massive invading force is coming in and trying to destroy Israel, because the prophecy said they don't even deal with the south of Israel. Why is that? Because the West Bank is not in the south. So all they're doing is saying, get out of the area that you're not allowed to be in, come across, come into Israel proper, and this belongs to Palestine. It's a very light touch, very light touch. And so those people coming in would be seen, again, as the Antichrist is a man of peace, because he's just trying to restore order. And so once you have that, wow, does this become easy.